Aranya Sahay is a director of this film, FDI alum, who's made 5 short films before making this debut feature film. Um, he has worked with Imtiaz Ali and Patrick Graham as assistant director, has worked and he's worn multiple hats. He's trained in classical Hindustani music, I believe. He's also a writer and director. Um, conceived this film about 3 years back, shot this film in 12 short days. So let's hear from him. Uh, welcome, Aranya.
Thank you, Animon. Hi, everybody.
First and foremost, congratulations on making this amazing film, very relevant for today's time with artificial intelligence threatening to take over the world, right? So, um, you've talked you talked about the inspiration for conceiving this movie. There was an article you read called "Human Touch" by Karishma Mehrotra, and that sparked the idea for this film. So, can you talk a little more about how you came across this and how you conceived this? What research did you do for this film? And you also firsthand witnessed these data labelers working in this Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand, you know, IT centers. Maybe you can elaborate on that too.
Sure. Okay. Firstly, thank you, Animon, and thank you to the Boston Film Society and Indie Meme for holding this and conducting this screening. This is our Texas premiere, so that makes it all the more special. Um, the the article of Karishma was actually I actually got to know about it because of this impact fellowship that I was a part of, called Museum of Imagined Futures. Museum of Imagined Futures was initiated by a company called Story Culture, who are my producers. They wanted to tell stories on overlaps of tech and society, and they wanted to tell stories about responsible tech. So in that fellowship, I learned about Karishma's article, and I almost instantly changed what I wanted to do earlier to this. And what I wanted to do earlier was actually something eventually was which is similar, which is about how imperialism and colonization sort of finds its way in social media, which is what uh, eventually in this film also I've attempted. Uh, Knowing this premise and knowing about this film and knowing about this phenomena of data labeling happening in Jharkhand is one thing. The other is to actually develop a narrative around it and to you know to focus on where you take the film towards. For that, I stayed in Jharkhand for almost a year, and I did work with and around a lot of data centers there. In my experience, these places are divided into two kinds of data labeling. Uh, works. One of them is the kind of work you saw, which is for which is agricultural labeling, or it could be autonomous cars, it could be for facial recognition systems. But there is another one which is content moderation, which is essentially uh, a person goes through many violent videos to tag them not safe for community standards. So those are the kind of that's the kind of world that it is. You know, these companies set these things up in these parts because labor is extremely cheap, and it makes all the sense to do it there. So yeah, apart from that, I, I did want to go and explore the content moderation thing. My first instinct was that, but I realized that violence is an easy thing to do on a in a film. Violence is easy to attract attention and to keep attention, but working with the other aspect of data labeling, which is the whole parental civilizational aspect, I think gradually I gravitated towards that, and that's where the film uh, took me towards.
Yeah, very pertinent to the current world where we are seeing the fruits of those labor and never really thinking about those people who acted and worked on this. Uh,
Yeah.
on that, I want to ask a little bit about the casting decisions you made and the fantastic actors who played, especially Sonal, who played the character of Nema, and her relationship with her daughter Dhanu. And uh, can you elaborate a little more on how you came across Sonal and how you developed those characters?
Casting was very interesting. We didn't have the budget to get a casting director, so you end up developing your own ways. What I did was I went through 20 years of uh, alumni lists of drama schools within India and then film schools within India. I would look at people's, I would just see how they look now, if they had relevant photos, and then I would shortlist from that. That is one. From that is the way I found Geeta Guha, who plays Alka. Sonal, interestingly, was I was struggling to find Nema because the what happens is that your desire for a film like this is to give this part to an indigenous actor, right? The first instinct is to give it to an indigenous actor, but you also have a very small pool of actors to work with because this industry, the Hindi film industry, and mostly all industries in India are very fair skinned oriented, right? Uh, in that, the pool of actors who look a certain part and actors who look right for a role like this was very very limited. In that, someone who's another actor, he recommended Sonal, and I saw a clip by her, which was just a docu fiction, and there's no real acting in it, but the way she emoted through a simple mid shot, I was taken by it. Uh, yeah, so Sonal was that, but everybody else in the film actually is from the state. They're either indigenous or they are non-indigenous, but from that province called Jharkhand. So everybody is around that place. In fact, the two children that you see, the girl that you see who plays young Nema, is a girl who I found in the village where I shot. Right. So, and the boy is also from the village. And if you see their faces are, I think for me, the most interesting faces in the film are those two, especially young Neema. And because that it's the most striking face that you see throughout the whole film. And which is why she is the poster for most of our, you know, despite having such a strong actor like Sonal, that face represents that area like nothing else.
Beautiful. Uh, Having talked about that area, right? You picked a character, the porcupine, the motif. I wanted to ask, what is the motivation behind that? You portrayed porcupine as a almost as a spirit animal, which is connected to Nema and her children. So, can you talk a little more about your thought process and why you picked porcupine and what your intention behind that was?
Porcupine actually, this is the funny thing is that I do answer this question all the time, so I have prepared answers, right? But I want to steer a little away from the prepared answers. Um, there are two serious sort of answers to it, and one is a non-serious answer. And the non-serious answer I can say because that I think a lot of people might know that particular thing in the states. The serious answers are that tribes have totems. Indigenous communities have totems which are very much like guardian spirits who protect and they are ancestral deities, right? So porcupine is an ancestral deity for a particular tribe, not the tribe that Nema belongs to. So that is there. Like in Hindu tradition, if you look at it, there is something called a Kul Devta and a Kul Devi, which is essentially your ancestral deity. A very it's very similar to that the totems exist. The other is a the second answer is actually a very writing oriented answer, which is that when Nima is younger, she has a relationship with a porcupine, which is the shyest animal in the jungle. What does that speak about her? It says that Nema has a very deep connection with nature and everything around her, even more than other people in her own tribe, and hence has a much deeper connection with her own self. In that sense, when she's younger, she's full and she's whole, as they say. Then life happens to her. She gets into a relationship with this non-indigenous person. She's called all sorts of slurs, all sorts of biases are thrown on her. Her daughter doesn't adhere to the way she looks at her life. She moves away from that wholeness. The last shot of Dhanu, the daughter, calling a porcupine towards her, is the time that she becomes whole again, but through her child. And that's something that we I've seen in a lot of people happen, that you find a missing piece of yourself through your child, and it's not necessarily a child which is uh, living your own child. Like I can say I found a lot of meaning through my first film, which is this, and maybe found a lot of pieces of which took me away from myself through this film. So I think that's something that's the second serious answer. The non-serious answer is I listened to a band called Porcupine Tree, and I think it's coming from there. I really can't say for sure, but yeah.
That's great. That's okay. Moving on to the at the core of this film is bias, right? Bias in AI, bias in the society, bias everywhere. Um, even the local culture, like the Duku marriage, is not recognized by the government, right? That's the majority versus minority bias, right? Anything which is the customs of the majority are the only accepted traditions, right? Everything else is not recognized. And so how do you think, what in your mind, what can be the bridge which can, narrow this gap?
I think the greatest biases are, uh, at least in the film that exist, are, for example, she says repeatedly to her mother that you drugged me. Twice she says this to her mother, and that's a bias in Jharkhand. A lot of non-Adivasis have a bias that you know Adivasis are Adivasis or indigenous people. Excuse me. Indigenous people are drunkards, and they're drunkards to the extent that they would even uh, give a drink to their child and drug their child. I think to bridge this, there's anyone. Let me approach this question like this, right? The first time that I told about this idea and this premise to anybody, they would say, "But can indigenous women actually work with AI? Do they even know how to speak English? Do they can they work in this kind of a English oriented space?" And I was like, this is your bias. You're coming from a truncated view of what that place is. And I think if we collaborate with an intent to understand the person who's in front of you, I think a lot of our biases will immediately dissolve. And I think s- power systems want to keep biases in place. It is the duty of the human being, human endeavor, and human union to kind of tackle biases. You know.
Let me ask you about release plans of this movie. Can you talk a little more?
So we have a limited theatrical release in India planned for September 20, this year, and we are right now the finalists in a science-based distribution grant in the US, which Oppenheimer incidentally got one of those science-based grants, and I'm hoping that that works out. And if that does, then we can distribute happily in the States.
All right. We have a first questioner coming in.
Hi there. Good morning. Thank you so much for making this film. My name is Neha. I actually do work with AI automation. So we have a whole program internally at our office around humans in the loop. So when I found out about this movie, I was very excited. Um, I think my question for you was around one of the themes that I noticed was that the daughter in some ways represented modernity and distance from, because she wants to go back to Ranchi, the city life. And I'm wondering if that was also part of your storytelling process to show Nima at that, or Nima at that intersection where she's also struggling to bridge that world through her daughter. And I guess, yeah, I'm just curious about that mother daughter relationship component and if that was part of what you wanted us to take away.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, she uses Google Maps to run away, right? And there is a push and pull between modernity and traditional knowledge system, but it's not. I feel it's not the most direct conflict because there are in betweens at each point. Like when Dhanu is in the jungle and she sees her friend put her head on a tree and say that our this is the tree of our ancestors, and the way she responds to it, I think she takes into the ideas that are prevalent in a traditional indigenous setup, and Nema responds to technology in a very different way. So there is a push and pull between modernity and tradition in the film, but I've tried to bounce between both the characters, playing with modernity and tradition at different points and in different ways.
Hi, my name is Sharmila, and I don't have a question per se, but I do have a couple of comments. First of all, it's an incredible movie. It pulled a lot of strings of my heart. At the risk of sounding vulnerable, I have to admit I'm a single mom. I have two daughters. And what I really, really enjoyed and loved about the movie is the relationship that you've shown about the mother daughter relationship. And more importantly, the jealousy, the curiosity that the mother goes through when she finds out that her partner is in another relationship. And I thought that was just beautifully, beautifully captured because I could just see myself sitting there. And some of the things where she tells Dhanu that this is your father talking, not realizing that, and maybe she did realize deep down her insecurities. So I'm really, really amazed at how you captured that in the mother-daughter relationship in a situation where the mother has a lot of insecurities and, so I just heard it was just incredible.
Thank you. It really
Yeah.
means a lot.
Yeah, that was just very well done. And interestingly enough, Imtiaz Ali's daughter and my daughter are very good friends from days in Mumbai. So
Okay. I
um,
assisted them on a project.
yeah, you've done, yeah, you've, yeah. So Just
But
great work, great work.
what you're saying, actually, there's so much I you derive from your life, right? Like, so my parents separated when I was younger, and a lot of that push and pull, a lot of that thing has come into the film, and it's found its way. But it's also found its way of the way I have interacted with relationships and the jealousy that you in your quiet moments that you see, and her checking the phone, the profile picture of the husband is that moment, and it's all of us, right? It's not just I mean, it's not just it's not just two divorced people, it's perhaps all of us who've ever been in a relationship. So
Yeah,
uh,
very, very beautifully captured, because that was exactly the scene that came to my mind, when she picks up the phone and looks at the profile picture and keeps staring at it. But so
yeah,
it's a sign of a really good filmmaker. So I applaud you for that.
thank you.
Time for one more questions, maybe.
First and foremost, very nice movie. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Manpreet. I have a very light question for you. I don't know if people noticed you had a cameo role in the movie. Um, my question was, how do you determine that this is the role I'm going to do, or was it just a lack of finding somebody and stepping in?
It's called majburi casting.
Okay, okay, got it.
Called Majburi casting because the actor who was supposed to do it, we had to shift the date of the shoot for multiple reasons, and that actor wasn't. We were like, okay, we can convince him to come on another day, but he didn't get convinced. So I had to do it because I'd been reading with the actors, and my father was a civil servant, so I ended up like just copying him. uh, yeah, and I actually quite enjoyed it. I think I didn't do a very good job, but in the edit, I saved it a bit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manpreet.
Okay, I think that if there's no more questions, we can wrap it up right now. Thank you, Aranya, for.
Thank you, Animal.
I hope you heard the round of applause for you. It is an incredible film, thoroughly enjoyed by the Austin audience, and I wish you success in future release plans, or probably like theatrical release in India.
Yeah.
And yeah. Thank
So
you.
there's one thing that I'd like to quickly just touch upon. Um, so this film it doesn't have a star attached to it, right? Traditionally, it doesn't have a big director. It's my debut film. So the story and the narrative of the film and the heart of the film has been at the center and has really been the star all along. And we've been able to reach where we are with the film, with the theatrical release, or this science based grant, or the other awards that have happened because of the consistent showing of the film in India, which we call impact screenings. We've shown it to almost 41 places in India itself, and we've been able to reach close to 35,000 people, shown it to 35,000 people in India, and we'd like to do the same in the States. We've done almost 4 to 5 of these screenings in the States already. Uh, Two of them were in New York. One of them was in Michigan, University of Michigan. Conducted the digital studies department did a wonderful screening of the film, and then the one which we are doing today is perhaps the fourth or the fifth one, and we'd like to continue this till a point that we can again reach a place to be able to release the film in US, because this is the only way that these kind of films uh, have any chance at a larger theatrical distribution. So I would just like support. We have an Instagram. If you'd like to write about the film, please do. If you'd like to, screen the film elsewhere in the US, we'd be very happy to do the same.
Yeah. Thank you, Aranya. And you heard Aranya please support by leaving your comments on his Instagram page, and or if you have release, or if you have any plans of screening this film, please get in touch with us, and we'll happy to coordinate with Aranya on this. Thanks once again.
Thank you, Animon, and thank you, Indie Meme and Austrian Film Society. This is incredible. I mean, I can't thank you guys enough. It's like I can't see how many people are there, but I can just see like a little bit, a few heads, and it seems like it's almost full. So, and this is great that you guys have been able to, get so many people on a Sunday. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.